Am I audible? Give me a moment. I'm just. Am I audible? Okay, fine. So let's start now. In the last class, we started with the two core components of Hadoop, right? I hope you are getting my screen now. So the two core components of Hadoop are HDFS and MapReduce, right? The storage part and the processing part. So before I proceed further, let me ask you one thing. Have you seen the installation of Hadoop or not? Is it covered in the lab or not? Yes. Okay. So it seems in lab, I guess Hadoop installation is covered, right? Or have you installed it in your own machine or still in the working phase? Okay. So few of you have already installed. Fine. So then you may have seen these daemons, right? So practically you will be doing everything in the lab sessions and all. We are just talking about the internal part, right? How it actually works, because without knowing it, we cannot deal with it properly, right? So we started with HDFS. We were talking about HDFS in the last class, right? So let's just continue with HDFS. So name node, data node, and secondary name node, right? The duties of each one of them are very much clear to you guys now, right? So, what is the duty of name node? Can someone recall fast? What is the duty of Yes, so basically it manages the data node, right? Yes. And what is the duty of data node? So it is the one which actually stores the data, right? And then secondary name node basically does the main duty of checkpointing, right? So that's what we have discussed till now. So is there any doubt in checkpointing? So name node, data node, and checkpointing. This is what we have discussed in the last class. So everyone is clear with checkpointing or not? Yes, everyone is clear with checkpointing. Okay, great. So let us proceed further then. So now we are going to discuss about how the data is actually stored in the data nodes, right? So I hope you have the infrastructure in mind now. So there is one name node, multiple data nodes, and there is single uh, secondary node, name node, right? So that is what we have discussed. Now we are going to talk about how the data is actually stored. And we have been talking that now things are going to be distributed, right? So you can see, before I proceed further with this topic, let me just tell you that you can stop me at any point of time, right? If you have any doubt regarding whatever content is being covered here, right, please do ask, right? It should not happen like I'm just talking in the air and nobody is getting. That should not happen, right? So these things are done practically as well. We can see it in lab sessions. Unfortunately, we are on an online platform, otherwise we could have been able to see this even on the lab where all the computers were in LAN, right? So we could have been able to show you the entire Hadoop cluster as well. We have already implemented it, right? But anyways, theoretically we can discuss even cluster as well, right? And virtually you can set up cluster having a single machine as well, right? Using Oracle virtual box and all, where you can create multiple machines and then you can just consider them as being a different data nodes, and one of them can act as a name node, and then you can set up a virtual Hadoop cluster as well, right? So that can give you a feeling of working on the distributed architecture, but otherwise it is done in our labs as well, right? So let us proceed further with this topic, right? So how the data is actually stored in data nodes. So actually, whenever you ask HDFS to store any file on it, right, HDFS stores any file in the form of blocks, right? Now, what are these blocks? These blocks are nothing but block of a fixed size. The default size of each block is 128 MB. I repeat, the default size of each block in Apache Hadoop 2.x is 128 MB, right? By default, it was 64 MB in Apache Hadoop 1.x. So it was in previous version, it was 1.x, but in the current version, it is 2.x. The current version, which is 2.x, in fact, I guess now even the third version is there, right? But we are working with the second version, which is the stable one. And then the default size in it is 128 MB. Now, please understand that all these settings are always flexible, right? So it's like you can change them as well, right? But usually we don't touch these things unless and until there is a demand for it, right? So we don't touch the default settings otherwise. But yeah, you can change if you want, right? So let's say you want to dump a file on HDFS. The size of a file is 380 MB, right? So if you divide it into blocks, it becomes it gets divided into three blocks, right? Which is 128 MB the first block, another 128 MB the second block, and third one will be 124 MB. Right now, when you dump it on HDFS, right, you will first of all contact whom. The name node is the point of contact in Hadoop cluster for storage, basically, right? I'm talking about storage, right? So we'll contact name node, right, to dump something on our HDFS. Now, let's say this particular Hadoop cluster has some data nodes. So three data nodes are connected. So each block is stored on a different data node, right? So 128 MB, 128 MB, and 124 MB. Now the last block, see the block size is fixed, but for the last block it can be different, right? So it is absolutely okay. It is not that the last block also should be compulsorily of 128 MB. So there is a chance that sometimes, let's say, the size of a file is let's say it is 258 MB. Can someone give me the blocks size? 258 MB. What will be the size of HDFS blocks for this particular file? The total size of a file is 258 MB. Yes, exactly. So it is 128, 128, and then 2, right? So the last size, the last block will not be of 128, right? There we have a flexible because we don't want to waste space, right? So the last size, the last block will have um, 2 MB, right? So that is how the HDFS blocks gets created. How the data is actually stored on HDFS. So you talk about any file. Let's say you are dumping 1 terabyte file, 1 TB file, right? Again, it gets divided into such blocks and it gets stored in the form of blocks. So basically, any kind of data you talk about, right? We are just talking about absolutely unstructured data also. So any kind of data you talk about, it gets stored in the form of HDFS data blocks on HDFS on in Hadoop. So is that clear about HDFS data blocks? Any doubt is there? Everyone is clear with HDFS data blocks? This is the default mechanism, right? I can change the default size as well, right? But usually we keep it as default, right? Now, let's say one of the data node here fails. Let's say the last one. So will we lose the data or not? What do you think? Is there a chance of losing the data if the last data node fails for some reason, crashes for some reason, we have just copied it on these three data nodes, right? Now, if you have a single node where your entire file is stored, and that node if crashes, your entire file goes, right? But in this case, if a single data node fails, what you lose, what will be your loss here? Let's say the last data node, which has this 124 block, fails. So what will you lose? Yes, exactly. The last one, right? The last HDFS block will be lost. So, do we have some mechanism so that we don't lose the data? I don't want to lose data, right? So, can you suggest something what we can have here? What we can do to overcome this problem? Yes. So, I'm getting quite related answer. So yes, we can have a duplication, right? We can replicate somewhere. So that is the solution. So we'll talk about replication in Hadoop soon. Before that, let's talk about advantages of HDFS, right? So see here, if data is more than the total size of Hadoop cluster, what can you do? Let's say if I talk about this particular uh, cluster, let's say the capacity of each data node is 1 TB. So total what amount of data can you store on this Hadoop cluster at max? At max, I'm talking about. Let's say all storage is available for storing the data, and the size of each data node is 1 TB. The storage capacity of each data node is 1 TB. So then what is the total storage available to you for this Hadoop cluster? How many data nodes are there here? Three, right? So the total, and each data node has one terabyte of storage. So total, how many total storage is available to you? What is the total storage available to you? Yes, exactly, 3 terabyte, right? So at max, you can store 3 TB data on this Hadoop cluster. But let's say someday you had a 4 terabyte file. What will you do? Can you store it on this cluster? No, that is not possible. But yes, because this is a decentralized system, what you can do is probably you can add one more data node here, right? So it is scalable actually, right? So more computers can be added, right, to increase the capacity, right? If a huge data file is stored on a single machine, it takes 4 seconds to process that file, right? In Hadoop cluster, that data file can be divided into cluster and processing time can be reduced. Now, let me again put this thing into example. Let's say here we have added one more data node to process the 4 terabyte of file, right? And this is a cluster. We are just keeping it aside. The Hadoop cluster is there. Let's say there is a single machine available to you, right? And this machine takes 4 seconds to process 4 TB file, right? With Hadoop, can you reduce this processing time? Yes. How? Let's say 4 TB file has been divided onto this Hadoop cluster. So each data node will have what amount of data? 1 terabyte, right? The total size of file is 4 TB, right? Number of data nodes are 4, right? So each data node will contain what amount of data? This file has been dumped on Hadoop cluster. Yes. So each data node will have 1 TB of data, right? Now, if this is the same machine, right? So if the machine was taking 4 seconds to process 4 TB file, then to process 1 TB file, how much time it will take? 1 second? Yes, exactly. Right? And these are working parallelly. So it is not that they are waiting for each other. These are working parallelly. So the all 4 data nodes are working parallelly and they are finishing their job in 1 second. So previously you were getting your results after 4 seconds and now you are getting your results after 1 second. So is there a great reduction in the processing time or not? Right? Yes. So that is the main advantage of this distributed architecture, right? So there are a lot of other advantages as well of Hadoop, but we are just focusing on some important one as of now. Next thing is about fault tolerance, right? So how Hadoop cope up with data node failure? The question which I raised before some time, right? What if some data node fails? And you said we can have multiple copy. So yes, that's the problem. So here, one of the scenario they have given that let's say we had this particular scenario, and this particular data node failed where the crossmark is there. So we will lose that particular data. So to overcome this situation, in Hadoop, we have something called as replication factor, right? So what is this replication factor? By default, it is set to 3, which means each HDFS block is stored at 3 different data nodes by default. This is a default value, right? Again, as I said, you can change it, right? So default value is um, 3. So what happens is whenever you dump any file on HDFS, it gets divided onto 3 different data nodes, of course, but then each HDFS block is also replicated at 3 different data nodes. So you can see here that the first 128 MB, right now the entire cluster is not shown here, only 4 data nodes are shown. So the part of the cluster is visible here, right? So the dark blue block, the first 128 block, you can see it is stored at this data node and at this data node, right? The second green 128 MB is also stored at 1 and 2. And the third blue one is also stored here at 1, sorry, at 2 and at 4, right? So due to replicating them at different places, they are available here at multiple places. Now imagine a case where the data node 3 fails. So what we are going to lose is the last 124 MB block. But do we have it available? Yes, it is available at some different data nodes as well. So we'll get it. So this is the power of replication factor. So are you all following me or not? Is there any doubt in this till now? See, this is a very new thing that you are learning. So it is absolutely okay to have very silly doubts as well, right? So please don't feel or don't hesitate asking any question regarding this thing, right? Because I would uh, very frankly tell you this, that you will be able to understand this very well only when you work on it actually, right? So only then you would be very much confident, right? But theoretically, if you have any doubt, please do ask. So Rahul is asking, if one node fails, okay, and other node takes its place. So as per replication factor, data will also be copied on one new node also. So Rahul, actually the scenario is, let's say here the node 3 fails. So we will not be worrying about, see, many times what happens is for due to some load, probably the node is not available for some time. This happens, right? So after some time it would be on, right? For a time being it is not available, but then after some time, or let's say it had some hardware issue, so once it is repaired it is available, right? So we don't worry about what was there on that data node, right? Runtime the issues are resolved. So we, let's say, needed this 124 MB and we contacted data node 3 and then we came to know that it is not available, right? So then what we will do, name node will check that on what other node this particular block which is needed by the client is available. So we will just go to that particular node and we will get the data. We will not copy this 124 MB on once again on some other data, assuming that after some time the data node is going to be available. So there are some internal mechanisms to handle to this situation, right? So that is how it goes. I hope have made your point clear. Yes. Any more doubt? Great. So let's proceed further. So this is about replication factor. Now we are going to talk about write mechanism, right? How the data blocks are actually written on HDFS. So let's go ahead and discuss this. So let's say we have some file which has been divided into these two blocks, which is A and B, block A and block B. Now, right now, I'm trying to dump this block A onto HDFS, right? So this is a block A which I want to dump on HDFS. So the client talks to name node that, hey, I have a block A, please copy it on HDFS. So what name node contains? Name node contains all the metadata about the entire cluster. So name node checks that which nodes are available, and let's say from the metadata it selects data node 1, 4 and 6, because the why it has returned or it has selected three data nodes. Can someone tell me why it has selected these three data nodes even when I just want to copy a single block? Yes, exactly. Due to replication factor, as my replication factor is 3, so I have to copy it on 3 locations, right? So name node is responding with 3 different IP addresses, right? So in this case, it is data node 1, data node 4, and data node 6, right? So that is being returned here. Now, what client will do? Client will set a pipeline. So what kind of pipeline is there? So it will just go to the data node 1 first, and it would say that I want to copy block A onto you because I have been given your IP address, and please go on checking whether data node 4 and 6 are available or not. right? So then data node 1 itself contacts data node 4, right? Data node 4 then in turn contacts data node 6. So that this is a kind of pipeline that is set here, right? So this is how the pipeline gets created first of all, right? Then what a client does, once all of them are ready, block A is dumped on data node 1. Data node 1 copies block A and then passes it to data node 4. Data node 4 then also copies this block and then gives it to data node 6, and then data node 6 copies it on itself. So this block A has been copied at these three different data nodes. So you can see client is not individually contacting the data nodes. Instead, there is a kind of pipeline that gets created, right? So the write operation takes place in different phases, and the first phase is a pipeline setup, and then the actual writing takes place. So you can see here the write request is created, and then sorry, data node 1 copies this block A, and then it sends the write request to data node 4. Then data node 4 copies the block, and then it uh, sends the same to block, sorry, data node 6, and then 6 also copies this. So it occurs actually in three phases. So the first phase that we saw is a pipeline setup, where the pipeline is getting created. In the second phase, the actual writing takes place, and then in the third phase, acknowledgement goes. Now acknowledgement is given in the reverse direction, of course, right? So acknowledgement starts with data node 6. So data node 6 gives the acknowledgement that I have copied block A. Then data node 4 gives the acknowledgement that me and 6 has copied. Then data node 1 sends the acknowledgement that me, 4 and 6 has copied. So then client in turn gets a message that the block is copied at all three IP addresses. So then client tells this thing to name node. So you can say name node is not doing all this, right? Name node, what is the duty of a name node? It is only maintaining the metadata and giving the IP addresses. Then meanwhile, everything is done parallelly. Name node is not at all involved here. Why? Because we want to increase the availability of name node, right? So because, so that name node remains available for other requests, right? Now what happens when write successful message is sent from client to name node? Name node updates the metadata that okay, for this particular file, its block A is available at data node 1, at data node 4, and at data node 6. This is the metadata that gets copied onto the name node, right? So, is there any doubt here in write mechanism? Everyone is with me? Okay, Rishin is asking what if error occurs. So, let's talk about this scenario as well. Imagine while doing this copying, we were able to copy block A to data node 1 successfully, at 4 successfully, but at 6 we were not able to copy. So in that case, what will happen? Acknowledgement will be returned from 4 and 1 only. There will be no acknowledgement from 6. So then client will give the same message to name node saying that I was able to copy to only 2 data nodes. So then what name node does? Name node gives one more IP address, right? So that it can be copied at three faces, at three data nodes. So it is guaranteed that it will be copied at three different data nodes. So if one of the data node fails and due to some reason we were not able to copy it to a particular data node, it is informed to name node, and then name node acts accordingly. Clear, Rishil? Or do you have some other doubt? Okay, you are saying that the pipeline starts with, see, it is very randomly done, right? So it is not fixed that it is just for this example, we started with data node 1. Ideally, it is not done in sequence, right? Let's say data node 1 was not available, then probably the client will directly contact to 4. And then at 4 and 6, it will copy, and at 1, it was not able to copy. So it will inform accordingly to name node. So it's not that one node has to act as a primary node for copy operation. Nothing like this is there, right? Anybody can do any task here. All nodes are equal here, right? So the pipeline will be set up between 4 and 6 in that case, right? And acknowledgement also will be received from 4 and 6 only. At 1, it was not available. So this will be informed to name node. So name node will give one more IP address. So this is just one scenario that we have discussed. Actually, it can be, let's say, um, node 1003, node 567, and node 42, something like this. So it is done randomly. Did I answer your question, Rishi? Okay. Any more doubts? Fine. So I hope this right mechanism is clear to everyone. So all of you are with me. All of you are able to understand right mechanism or not? Clear with right mechanism? Yes. Great. So let's proceed further now. So the next one is about multi-block, right? Just talked about block A, but we have block B as well. So because we have understood for one block, now let's go for multiple blocks, right? So let's say there are two blocks which we want to copy. So actually, for multi-block write operation, for each block, the procedure is same as we have seen previously, and that same procedure is followed for multiple blocks. But that is done parallelly. I repeat, for each block, its operations are done sequentially, the way we have seen in the previous case. Sequentially, why I am saying sequentially is because it is done in three phases: pipeline setup, writing mechanism, and then acknowledgement. So that is how it is a sequence. So for each block, the sequence is maintained. But then for multiple blocks, the sequence is performed parallelly, right? So let's say if I talk about this block A and block B, the client wants to copy this thing 1A and block A and block B on this. So for block A, what is followed is 1A, then 2A, then 3A, and then 4A. Are you able to locate these things on figure 1A? Is it not shared? Oh, I don't know. How did I stop it? Let me share it again. Getting my screen now? Great. So here you can see there are multiple blocks, block A and block B, which I want to copy on Hadoop cluster. So as I said, for each block, the sequence is followed: pipeline setup, writing, and what is the third one? Acknowledgement. That is done in sequence, but then for each block, this is done parallelly. So, are you able to locate 1A, 2A, 3A on figure or not? So 1A, 2A and 3A and 4A. So you can see the block A is copied on data node 1, data node 4 and then to data node 6, right? And then for block B, what is the procedure? It is 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, and then 6B. So here block B is copied onto data node 7, data node 9 and data node 3. So the copying operation of block A and block B is done parallelly, right? But internally it is done sequentially. Are you getting what am I talking about? Okay, so I repeat. For block A, it is copied onto data node 1. See, what I mean to say is block A is copied onto which nodes? Can someone write here by seeing the figure? Block A is copied onto which data nodes? One, 4, and 6. So, what I mean to say is the copying operation at 1, 4, and 6 is done sequentially. It is not that parallelly at all three nodes we are copying block A. Is that clear? So, it is done sequentially that at data node 1 it is copied, then at data node 4 it is copied, then at data node 6 it is copied. So, it is done sequentially. It is not that parallelly we are copying on 146. Right? So internally it is done sequentially. And for block B, at which nodes it is copied? So for block B, it is copied at 379, right? So internally it is copied in which sequence it is shown here. Let's say the sequence which is shown here is it is copied at data node 7, then at data node 9, and then at data node 3. So it is copied in this sequence 7, 9, and 3, right? So copying operation at 793 and at 146 is done parallelly. This is what I want to say. Is that clear to everyone? Great. Fine. Let's go further now. I think I've missed read mechanism here. So let me tell you read mechanism here. Read mechanism is very straightforward. I don't know why it is not there. Read mechanism is very straight away, now that you know the Hadoop cluster, can someone tell me if I want to read from a Hadoop cluster, whom should I contact? Name node. Yes. So as a client, if it is my read request, I'll go to name node and I'll ask name node that I want to read this particular data. Then where should I look for? So what name node will do? Name node will give you the IP addresses of the blocks which you want, right? So then as a client, you will just go ahead and read the data from the cluster, right? So that is how read mechanism takes place. That okay? So that is about read. Read is a quite straightforward. Only thing is understanding write is very important here. Right? So that is about read write mechanisms of Hadoop. Now, just a second. Oh, we are left with only 5 minutes. I was about to start MapReduce. Okay, so MapReduce is something which we will start probably in the next class only because we'll not be able to finish it. But in HDFS, if you have any doubt, please do let me know. Have you executed commands on HDFS? There are various commands using which you can dump files. So basically, this is just for your reference. We are just understanding everything, but otherwise, they are Linux-like commands, right? That you will have to execute to uh, read or write from Hadoop cluster. Have you learned those command or not? No. Probably in this week's lab it will be covered. So how to dump file on HDFS, how to read file from HDFS, everything will be taught to you probably in the uh, this week's lab, right? So you can just relate what is covered. Commands are being taught to you, right? So fine, that's it for today. We'll talk about MapReduce in the next class, right? Have a nice day.